In very good news, the International Criminal Court have just accepted the case for review against New Zealand, the New Zealand government, the Queen, the Governor General, and Jacinda Ardern for 1080 poisoning, amongst other ranges of chemical weapons grade poisoning that has been inflicted deliberately on the New Zealand food and water supply. This is an exceptional moment. It's really, really important. For years, people in New Zealand have fought for their rights, for their right to life, for their right to clean food and healthy water, and we have watched our ecosystem being deliberately killed. Our lakes are unswimmable, our rivers are toxic, our ocean edges our shores are now becoming toxic. We can't walk on our beaches. This is a deliberate result of chemical weapons grade poisoning being put right across our ecosystem, and our health epidemic is devastating. Everyone is getting sick. Now the International Criminal Court have accepted this case for review. What that means next is they will ask for a lot of information from the New Zealand government. That is obviously concerning because the New Zealand government and the state agencies who are in possession of this information are complicit in this crime. So I believe that there needs to be a massive and immediate change in who is running our agencies and who is sitting in our government. Anyone who is complicit should be stood down and suspended until this investigation progresses. The review begins looking at the case and looking at what has occurred in New Zealand. There have been so many instances where justice has not been administered in its integrity to stop this crime that we have a genuine argument for the ICC to take jurisdiction, both on my case and previous cases evidence this. This is very, very important. New Zealand has a health crisis for a reason. Our animals are being tortured to death all across our bush. Right through our wilderness, if you go out there now, you can't hear any birds. No birds deep in the bush. We have dead animal carcasses right through our bush. If the mosquitoes get on them this summer, we're going to have a plague of all sorts of diseases. And I'm sorry, but I get more and more cynical the more I know what's happening in this country, because that gives a cover story to set up all sorts of diseases. We've had a syphilis outbreak this week, apparently, I read in the Herald, although my Herald gets stolen, so I don't actually get to read the Herald anymore. It's taken from my door. That's another story. The point is that, well, that's a more complicated story, but we won't go there. Okay, the point is that it's incredibly exciting that the ICC have accepted this case for review. The case technically still progresses in the High Court, but as I've expressed in the video that I did just before I received confirmation from the court, I am concerned about the integrity in the New Zealand courts. My experience is that there are good judges, definitely, I've met them, but there are some ones who are misusing their power, and until that changes, our court is not going to render justice, and we have a killing program happening in this country. So the news of the ICC accepting this case for review, I put the case to the ICC last week with a valid argument for them to take jurisdiction, and also I put it to the United Nations Security Council, the Secretary General, the President of the General Assembly of the UN, asking them to get involved in this case, because whilst my claim since May 28th has stopped any use of these chemical weapons grade poisoning, there was poisoning planned for June 23rd, there was poisoning planned for July 19th, and schedules that were that have been pushed back because of this claim, but it was fighting the machine, wasn't it? Because how long can you hold off people who are intent and have been intent for years to cause a eugenics program across this country? It's a crisis narrative, massive crisis narratives that are causing a mass of structural reforms here. If this poison was dropped in the increased quantities, it has the potential to massively affect agriculture. And with the new branding of the Emperor's New Clothes disease, Bogus bovis, or Mycoplasma bovis, sounds like Mycobacterium bovis, but kind of similar. Deformed cells that eroded cell walls. Penicillin doesn't work because it's poisoning. It can't be fixed. It's not a disease. It's poisoning. There is no antidote So with the new quantities, that would be expected to be actually a genuine outbreak of poisoning that would divest the agriculture industry. That's a huge risk that farmers need to understand. There are people who want their land. There are people who want the dairy industry and the meat industry finished. And this poisoning hoax combination of narratives from TB to Mycobogus bovis plasma bacterium bovis bogus bogus to the apple green apple moth. What was the green apple moth biosecurity hoax that happened, which they then had to spray toxic herbicides right across Hamilton, and people who were affected under that spray showed up with cancers within 6 weeks all over their body. Countless numbers of cancers, dying. We are in a fight for our lives. This is a fight for our water and our food and our health and our future and our children. We need to understand that. We need to be very grateful the International Criminal Court has accepted my case for review, my legal argument, and we need to pray that they transition this into a formal investigation from the review, the initial review where they gather information and assess the claim, to a formal investigation whereby they can issue arrest warrants, summons people to The Hague, put people in prison for this crime. And the claim again is against the Queen, Jacinda Ardern, as the leader who signed off the budget to run this massive genocidal extermination program, and the Governor General, who has supported all the state agency actors who have been involved in this and left them in their role to kill. I do believe Winston Peters is working positively in the interests of the country to try and help resolve this. So I'm sure that he will facilitate support for the International Criminal Court. It's a perfect timing, really, because he is one of the few in government who is honest. I again reiterate, I am very concerned that our state agency heads are involved in this heavily. They administer this death program willingly, deliberately, inflict it on the population, knowing that it will bring about our physical destruction, currently in part by sickness and premature death, but this is going to be an extermination if these new quantities of poisons are dropped. So, this is a really important time. This is a really, really serious case. New Zealand is under review for chemical weapons attacks against their own population, a genocidal extermination eugenics program with chemical weapons grade poisoning deliberately in our water supply that increases our toxicity over time and brings about pain, suffering, illness, disease, and death of our humans and our animals, our wildlife, everything. Not only that, kills all the microorganisms in the soil, stops the breakdown of the animals, so the decomposition. This is a complete collapse of our ecosystem. Yeah, climate change is man-made, all right, by chemical warfare. Don't even start me on weather weapons. This is a really important claim. We should be really happy as a country. I'll keep you posted.